Good morning, students, and welcome back to our second class of EVS, chapter number 19. A seed tells a farmer's story. So, today we will do the remaining part of the chapter. Before starting the chapter, I would like to ask all of you whether you have done the task which was told you in our previous class. Okay, did you ask from your parents what are rotis made in your home? Was it wheat for everyone? Okay, it must be wheat, I'm sure of. And have you eaten rotis made of bajra and jowar? Okay, students, if not, then do try eating them in these winters because bajra and jowar are most commonly used during winter seasons. And let me ask you one more thing. Did you ask your mom that what is used in kitchens to protect grains and pulses from insects? Did you ask or not? If not, please do try asking this time. So, in our previous class, we were reading the problems which were faced by Damji Bhai's son Hasmukh, and how the new and modern methods of farming was initially giving him profits, but later on how and what kind of problems started arising because of those new techniques. So let us study furthermore what problems were being faced by Hasmukh with the change of time.
Over the next 20 years, there were more changes in farming. Agricultural fields were watered using water from wells, tube wells, lakes and dams. This is called irrigation. Some farmers still employed traditional methods like drawing water from wells with the help of pulleys and animals. These were cheap methods and did not require electricity. In some areas, farmers use electric pumps, drip irrigation and sprinklers as modern methods of irrigation. These are much more efficient methods that do not allow wastage of water.
So in these slides we read about irrigation. What is irrigation? Irrigation is watering the crop or fields by different ways of water system. It can be underground water, it can be canal, it can be motors, or it can be via drip irrigation or using sprinklers.
With all these, there were many problems faced by Hasmukh Lal and other farmers. These were, without cows and buffaloes, there was no cow dung to be used in the fields as fertilizer. Farmers had to buy expensive fertilizer. The new kinds of seeds were such that the crops were easily affected by harmful insects. Medicines had to be sprayed on the crops to keep away the pests, which also somehow affect the health of the people. In fact, the canal water in the villages was not enough for the new crops. Farmers had to take bank loans to fulfill these needs.
So a lot of money was being spent in buying fertilizers, in buying pesticides, and in paying the electricity bills. And these fertilizers and pesticides, since they were chemical in nature, so they were affecting our environment, affecting the soil as well as the yield that was produced by using such kind of chemicals.
Sometimes, farmers were unable to pay back the loans due to crop failures. Irregular electricity, too, hampered the process of farming practice. Plot size or size of the land holdings is too small, and thus farmers cannot produce enough to meet their needs.
So these were the financial issues that were being faced by the farmers. And natural importance of natural fertilizers, as it contains friendly and microorganisms which helps in increasing the soil fertility. So these things were not used by now farmers because they were spending their whole money in buying chemical fertilizers.
As only cotton was growing in the same field over and over again, the soil was losing its fertility. Chemicals too had affected the soil a lot. As a result, the cotton was not giving profit. It was difficult to earn a living by farming alone.
Since everybody was growing same crops, so that was cotton, and cotton was not giving good prices in the market to the farmers. Furthermore, it was also reducing the fertility of the soil because we were repeating the same crop again and again. So these were the problems which were adding on to the farmers like Hasmukh Bhai.
Farmers in India are mostly illiterate and traditional in their outlook, so they don't accept new technology easily. Due to these problems, they often need to move to cities for work. Such farmers are called as migrant laborers. Hasmukh too changed with the times. He's often tense and angry most of the time. His educated son, Paresh, did not want to do farming. He worked as a truck driver. They still had to pay the loan. He would come home after many days, and one day he wanted Damji Bhai's same wooden box to be used as a toolbox. The seed would not have its home anymore, and it was sad.
So now what happened? Hasmukh Bhai's son didn't want to continue with the same profession as his father was doing. He was not ready to do farming because he was seeing that his father actually was facing a lot of problems. So he changed his profession. He wanted to be a truck driver, and it reminded him of that wooden box which his grandfather made for keeping seeds. So now Paresh also wanted to use the same wooden box, but not for keeping seeds. Okay, he wanted to use that for keeping his tools of the truck which he was driving. So this is how the seeds which were kept in the wooden box saw changes over a period of time.
Did you know it is not easy for most of the farmers to repay the small amount taken as a loan from the bank? Sometimes they commit suicide for not being able to pay the loan. Even the bank had sent some of the farmers to jail for not repaying the small amount. Nallappa Reddy from Andhra Pradesh had to take another loan from a money lender to repay a small amount of 24,000 to the bank. According to him, the bank should send big businessmen to jail who take big loans and do not repay. According to government figures, 150,000 farmers had committed suicide between 1997 and 2005. Now the government is taking care of it and giving aid to the farmers.
Actually, it is a very sad state of farmers in India because of being illiterate, because of not changing according to the times. The farmers are facing a lot of problems, and they are under so much of debt and so much of financial crisis that ultimately when they see no way out, they commit suicide. And this is actually a very awakening figure which is given here, 150,000. Between the year 1997 to 2005, these many number of farmers committed suicide because of not able to pay the loan that they had taken from the banks.
What questions come to your mind about farmers and farming in India? Have you ever visited any farm, just like some of your friends? As they visited the Bhaskar Bhai's farm in Gujarat, there were cotton plants everywhere, which gave a signal when the soil became dry. Yes, the roots of the cotton plant do not go deep in the ground. So when the top layer of the soil becomes dry, the cotton leaves bend and become limp. This signal tells farmers that which part of his farm needs to be watered. The soil of the farm was soft and crumbly because of all the dried leaves, which slowly rot and mix with it. There are usually thousands of earthworms in a fertile land. The earthworms soften the soil as they keep digging underneath to make tunnels. They are soil's best friend. This way, air and water can easily get into the soil. The earthworms also eat the dead leaves and plants, and their droppings fertilize the soil.
So earthworms are called as farmers' best friend, and they are soil friendly because they help in making natural fertilizers for the farmers. Students, after watching this small video, don't forget to read a story given in your book on page number 180, which tells about Bhaskar Bhai's farm. And in this farm, a very innovative and new and natural way of farming was done, which was eco-friendly also, and which was less cost also. It was quite cheap. It was an economic way of doing farming. Okay, so do read this and after watching this video.
Have you heard about the compost pit? It is a natural way in which we can get good fertilizer without spending extra money. A pit is dug and dried leaves along with all the kitchen waste, peels of vegetables and fruits and leftover food is put into it. It is then covered with soil for some time. The earthworm in the soil turns the waste into compost. It is a natural and good fertilizer.
So if you have a kitchen garden in your home, you can definitely go for this compost pit. It's very easy to make. You have to just dig a pit, and you have to keep filling it with all the kitchen waste, which is dry, which is wet, and some dry leaves also. Then cover it. You can put some earthworms also in it. After a few days, you will find that the earthworm has turned that into a very natural and fertilizer, which can be, it is called as compost, which is can be used for your garden area.
So we noticed how bajra seed tells us about the changes in the farming over the years. The technology has brought a big change in farming and farmers' lives. Earlier, the same bajra cobs were crushed in a mortar or okali with a pestle or muesli to separate the seeds. Now the same can be done by using big machines. Technology does not mean big machines. It is the other name of making work simpler. There is a technology in kneading flour. Sprinkling the right amount of water at the right time only gives good kneaded flour. Not all can do this.
So students, let's do a quick recap of the chapter.
Recap. The bajra seed was born in Vangam in Gujarat. Damji Bhai was in the habit of keeping a few good seeds aside. That year, Damji Bhai made a strong wooden box to store the seeds. In India, farmers grow many different kinds of crops, grains and vegetables according to the season. People were mostly growing wheat and cotton. Jawar and bajra were forgotten even from Damji Bhai's field. Farmers started buying seeds from the market.
So the chapter started with bajra seed, which was born in Vangam in Gujarat, how Damji Bhai had a habit of keeping good seeds for the next year, and how he used to store seeds. And in those days, people used to grow different kinds of grains and vegetables depending upon the different kinds of season our country is having. And later on, they started growing only wheat and cotton, and most of other seeds were forgotten from their fields because wheat and cotton were giving them good price.
New techniques in farming although gives good amount of profit to the owner, but because of machines, there is no longer any need for seeds and animals like the bullocks. As only cotton was growing in the same field over and over again, the soil was losing its fertility. Chemicals too had affected the soil a lot. Farmers in India are mostly illiterate and traditional in their outlook, so they don't accept new technology easily.
So this further problems that were being faced by farmers like Damji Bhai was because they had to pay a lot of money to get used to new techniques and buying new fertilizers and new seeds, and it was affecting their soil also. And this is all happening because of illiterate farmers in India, and because they are following traditional methods in their farming techniques.
Farmers take loans from the bank and sometimes are not able to repay. Hasmukh's son Paresh used the wooden box as a toolbox. The technology has brought a big change in farming and farmers' lives. Technology does not mean big machines. It is the other name of making work simpler.
So farmers had to take loan from banks. They were unable to pay the loans, and ultimately many farmers committed suicide because of non-payment of the loans. And now farmers, next generation, they are not liking this business much. They are not too much into agriculture. They are starting changing their business. So this was all about this chapter, how a seed is telling his story over a period of time. Okay, so I hope you have understood the chapter. Watch the video for better understanding, and along with watching the video, read page number 178 to 181 for this lesson. Okay, and then again watch both the videos, read the whole chapter again, and then try to answer the question given on page number 180 and 181, that is about the journey of a bajra seed from a field to a plate. A few pictures are given on page 181. Watch these pictures, see is it done in your homes also, and what are the methods done for what are the methods used for doing these things. And instead of bajra, you can talk about journey of wheat seed from a field to plate. So thank you students so much. I hope you have understood the lesson. Read it again, watch the